Hello, my name is Chris Murray from the Paramount Veterans Network, and I am a proud active duty Air Force veteran, now currently serving in the Air National Guard with the U.S. Space Force as a satellite operator. Today, we bring you another inspiring coffee with vets. In this sit-down interview, we welcome Dan Miller, a combat veteran, United States Marine Corps veteran, and a motivational speaker for Wounded Warrior Project. This remarkable session will be moderated by Paramount VetNet's Will Gauchet, a proud Army veteran. Thank you for joining us today and enjoy the show.
Thanks so much for that wonderful intro, Chris Murray. I'm excited to introduce and interview Dan Miller, who is a self-proclaimed history buff. Although many people consider historical research to be work, Dan calls it a hobby. Visit his home in Illinois and you'll be surrounded by history books and memorabilia, particularly those related to the Marine Corps and law enforcement. His passion for history grew more and more intense during his 30-year career in the U.S. Marine Corps. While serving our country, Dan's experiences include multiple deployments, more combat than he cares to remember, and too many friends and fellow warriors lost. Dan struggled for many years, but ultimately was able to overcome life's toughest challenges. Today, he spends his time helping others, raising awareness for the issues faced by our nation's veterans, and inspiring all of us to find hope in our lives. Please join me in welcoming a man who has dedicated his life to service from Wounded Warrior Project, Dan Miller. How you doing today, Dan?
Good. How are you doing? I wanted to start off by thanking Paramount Veterans Network, Will, Betty, for having me on today. It is an honor to be here.
Sir, it's an honor and a pleasure indeed to have you join us today. Thank you again for taking that time out. Let's hop right into our first question that we have for you. What made the military attractive to you as a kid?
Well, growing up, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, little neighborhood Irish Catholic kid. And growing up, my mom really, to keep me out of trouble, my mother got me into reading when I was young. I kind of gravitated towards history books. And as I started reading about history, I kind of narrowed it down to the military. It wasn't so much about the combat, but just the idea of being in the military, an honorable profession, going out there and doing the right thing. And, just the accomplishments of the U.S. military throughout the ages. And as I got a little bit older, my uncle, my mother's brother, I found out that he had been a U.S. Marine. So I started talking to him about it, and he had told me some stories. And my father was a Korean War veteran, and he spoke a little bit about it. It piqued my interest. I kind of knew getting into high school, I wrestled and I was athletic and I did sports, and I decided, I'm going to join the Marine Corps. I looked at the services and I thought, they got a cool uniform. That was one, I think. Two, at the time, they're the toughest and boot camp and all that. And so I decided to do that.
That's terrific. A lot went into that decision, especially you playing all the different sports that you just talked about. I know that couldn't have been easy to turn your back on maybe a budding sports career, but for a purpose much greater than yourself. Speaking about going back to kind of your roots, the beginning, did you always aspire to be in the military from just that very young age, finding those books? And whenever you got into the military, was it everything that you thought it was upon arrival? Could you walk us through that experience just a little bit?
Absolutely. I joined the delay entry program at 17. So I had to have my mom sign.
Wow.
My mom raised me on her own. My dad was here and there, but my mom, and that's a lot of veterans, if you talk to them, single family or single parent homes and whatnot. But my mom raised me, and my mom instilled in me this thing of service to others before self for as long as I can remember. So I had that in the back of my head. So when the time came, I actually joined the DEP program, delay entry program, and I did it on the buddy system. I had another buddy of mine in high school that joined with me. I think we both gave each other courage to do it. And so day came to leave for boot camp, and, I was scared. I was having some second thoughts. I remember they took us down to the Military Entrance and Processing Center in Chicago, the MEP Center. And I remember calling my uncle. And I was nervous. I was afraid, am I making the right decision? And he said, listen, just trust yourself. and you're going to be fine, and just listen to what your drill instructors say and keep your mouth shut and learn, eyes open, mouth shut. We departed and ended up at nighttime. It always seems to be in the dark. Arrived at MCRD San Diego, and I like to say the thrashing began. The shock and awe the drill instructors are meant to give you. And I definitely had doubts. I think that first night, laying there in my rack, looking up at the ceiling, going, "Did I really make the right decision here?" I mean, I was just scared and disorientated, but I knew that I had made the choice, and that mantra that my mother had instilled in me, service to others before self, just kept ringing in my head. And also, I think the biggest fear was failure. I didn't want to disappoint my family or my friends. I had made a decision to do this. And on top of that, I had a friend of mine, my buddy, who had, joined up with me, was in my platoon in boot camp. And, we didn't want to fail each other. So, whatever was going to come at us, we were going to make it. We were going to do it.
That's incredible, especially going in with a buddy. That had to ease the tension just a little bit, knowing that the man that you came in with is standing right beside you or not too far away from you. You spoke a lot about instilling lessons in you early on, specifically with your mother, about service above others, or to others above service to yourself. You spoke about courage and about failure as well. What lessons did you learn while you were in the military that you still carry with you on the outside today?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the Marine Corps is based on commitment, courage, honor, loyalty. There's a whole number of traits, principles and traits that we live by. And I think that the biggest ones that I've continued to carry with is, that integrity. I believe that is so important in everything that you do. Honor, courage, and commitment is something that is drilled into you from the beginning. The courage to do the right thing even when no one's looking. Commitment to yourself and to your family and to your friends. And just knowing that, the pride of having earned that title, United States Marine. That's the one thing that I know every service has their own sayings, and every service is very important. I'm not knocking any other branch. I just want to say real quick, to anyone that's been in the service, thank you for your service. To anyone that's supported our members that have worn the uniform of our country, thank you for your support. But with the Marine Corps, you earn the right to wear the eagle of an anchor. And you're once a Marine, always a Marine. And it's just that has stuck with me for my entire life, that, I had the honor to earn that. And I have the honor to say that I'm a United States Marine. So
That's terrific. That's terrific. And wrapping that golden anchor around you, I know has to feel good. There could have been many other choices that you could have made. However,
very true. Very true.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So shifting to our focus for this month of men's health awareness, with June being that month that we celebrate or cause awareness to men's mental health, what do you say to men that are struggling to carry on?
Well, I mean, you know what? Life can be a struggle. There is no doubt about that. I have absolutely positively gone through many struggles. I went to combat. I did my part. I lost a lot of friends. It affected me. I was hurt, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And the mental aspect of it was something that I had a very hard time dealing with, because I think in any branch in the military, you're taught, we're taught to be tough, and we're taught to handle our situations, and we can deal with it. And I actually had someone tell me this, and it made a lot of sense, that, we're taught to turn it on, but we're not taught to turn it off if we've gone and deployed or just been in the military. And so what I say to folks is, you're not alone. You might think you are. I know I did. I thought I was struggling alone with post-traumatic stress disorder, with a moderate traumatic brain injury, which I really didn't even understand I had until I was diagnosed. And I didn't want to hear about PTSD because I thought it was a weakness. And the fact is, you're not alone. And if you can communicate, which you can, you need to communicate with others. And you need to understand that, things in life, events that you go through will affect you, and you have to address them. You have to be honest with yourself and address them and get help, because there are so many organizations and so many people out there, not just, Wounded Warrior Project that I work for, but so many other organizations out there that are willing to help you on a journey to recovery, on a journey to getting, mentally and physically better, finding that path to recovery, and not just for you. It's not just for the veteran, but for the people that we love, your family, your loved ones, because they're in it too. When you're suffering, they suffer as well. And so you've got to keep pushing forward. You cannot give up. There have been days in my life where it's been simply putting one foot in front of the other, hoping that I'm going to go in the right direction. And, there's been days where I didn't want to raise my hand and ask for help, but I knew that I had to because I couldn't do it alone. And you don't need to do it alone. That's the biggest thing, is you don't have to be alone. There are people that will help you.
That is a very powerful statement. Thank you for that, Dan. As you have mentioned there, just taking that first step, one foot in front of the other, just ensuring that you do get the help that's needed, that you find those resources that are readily available to take on that load that you more than likely cannot carry, or it's getting tiring to carry. So thank you for that. You are one of 9 national speakers for the Wounded Warrior Project. How has that brought value and impacted your life?
Tremendously. When I retired in 2015 from the Marine Corps, I was lost. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going through a tough time because that was around the time that I'd already been diagnosed with PTSD. I was struggling with it. I hadn't really gotten a lot of help. I had been diagnosed, with the moderate TBI. The physical stuff was healing, but I was lost. I was emotionally lost and afraid because now I didn't have that brotherhood that I kind of relied on. And, I was just out there, and it actually took another veteran, a friend of mine, to convince me to go to an event for Wounded Warrior Project. I knew about Wounded Warrior Project, but I really didn't think I could join them. I didn't think I rated to be a part of Wounded Warrior Project. And the thing about Wounded Warrior Project is it's not just for people that have been wounded in combat. It's for anybody that has been ill or injured or wounded post 9/11, and you have an honorable discharge. You can join Wounded Warrior Project. And I didn't know that, but he convinced me to go to an event. And I started talking to some other veterans, and I realized I was not the only one on the planet that was having these problems, and that I felt good talking to these people. I felt good letting some of this stuff out, and they understood. I mean, veterans understand veterans better than I think anyone else. And so I started on that path with WWP, going to events, and then eventually there was an opening for a job. And I never thought, if you'd asked me 10 years ago if I was going to be a speaker for Wounded Warrior Project, I probably would have laughed at you, because I never thought I would ever be able to stand up in front of people. The fear of public speaking is right up there. I think it's like number 1 or 2 or something. I don't know, but I'm afraid every time I go up on stage. I have that fear still that I'm going to mess up, or I'm going to lock up or do something. But getting out there and learning how to speak and being honest and coming from the heart and telling my story, both the good and the bad, has helped me to better understand myself, the world around me, what I went through, has helped me to forgive myself and let go of some of the survivor's guilt that I have for the Marines that didn't come back from my unit, that I felt, why them and not me, has helped me counsel other Marines and other veterans when they need help. It has put me in such a better place than I ever was before, and it continues to do so every time I go on a speaking engagement, every time I get a chance to meet a veteran or a family support member, because we don't want to forget the family support members that are dealing with it just as much as their veteran loved ones are. And so it has really changed my world for the better. I'm in a better place. I feel better emotionally. I feel better mentally. I feel better physically.
Wow. Truly enriching and life altering. It sounds like it's more than just a job. That's terrific, Dan. That's really terrific.
Absolutely.
So, in speaking about your employer, you touched on it a little bit, but how has Wounded Warrior Project and other outlets helped you to manage your PTSD and your moderate TBI?
Well, absolutely. With their programs, as I said, they're life-changing and life-saving with Wounded Warrior Project. I've been through many of the programs that are offered. I don't want to just give a plug to give a plug, but it's very much important that people know that if you go to woundedwarriorproject.org, you can read about our programs. These programs work. One of the programs I went through was the Warrior Care Network, and it's about a 2-week program. It's very intensive for PTSD and TBI, but then it's about a year's worth of follow-on care. You're sent to one of the 4 hospitals that Wounded Warrior Project has contracts with, and you go through a cohort with other veterans, and you learn about PTSD, things that you might not know. You learn about what a TBI can and cannot do to you or how you can deal with it. And knowledge is power. And so learning about this stuff, learning about what is making this tick, which is affecting me on a daily basis, helps me to form ways to manage it and deal with it. On top of that, the alumni events that Wounded Warrior Project offers, like I said, that first event that I went to and where I got a chance to just hang out and speak with other veterans and make those connections and realize that I'm not alone. Those events are so important because it builds that community that you're not by yourself, and you begin to shed that idea that I had to deal with this on my own, and I don't want to be embarrassed, or I don't want to look like I'm weak and everything else. I retired as a sergeant major, as an E9, and in the Marine Corps being E9, that's the top of the food chain when it comes to the enlisted ranks. And so people look at that like, well, you're the sergeant major, so you should have the answers to everything, and you should never be weak. And that's great. Okay. I understand that. But the reality is we're all human. I needed to get over that sergeant major thing and understand that I can ask for help, and help was there. And once again, the programs, another program I went to was a soldier ride, which is about a 3 or 4 day event where you cycle for a certain number of miles, and they have them in different cities. And, I got on a bike and I'm out there with these other veterans cycling down the roadway, and I felt so free doing it. I felt it'd been so long since I'd been on a bike, it wasn't even funny, but it felt so good to do it. And you build that camaraderie in that exercise. And I still talk to people that I did soldier ride with. I built that long list of friends that I know I can call when I need to, or just call to talk or check up on, do a buddy check. And all of that came from Wounded Warrior Project. And it all ties into, once again, that life-changing, life-saving path that they offer you through their programs. And it works. It definitely worked with me. And I know for a fact it's worked with other people that I have met or that I work with. It's changed their lives for the better.
Well, that's terrific. Once again, Dan, thank you for that answer. Just letting the people know that there's more than just the corporation or the face of a company of just Wounded Warrior Project. There's programs that are out there available for people to go and to look into for themselves, make that decision. So let's transition to one of the questions that I love the most. Your dog, Rocky.
Yep.
He is your best friend. Can you tell us a little bit about how that relationship started and how he's helped you to recover?
Absolutely. So I never imagined that I would have a service dog. I never thought I needed one. Once again, it's that, I can handle it. Other people need them. And I'm not going to take something away from someone else that needs it more than me. And there's an organization called Canines for Veterans that works with Wounded Warrior Project. There's also another one called Canines for Warriors. It's another organization, but what they do is they take dogs, usually rescues, and they take a look at the dog, and they basically review the animal and kind of evaluate the dog to see if it would be a good service animal. And in this case, Rocky was a rescue, and I got called one day. They let me know, hey, we've got this dog. We know that you've shown some interest in having a service animal, but you're not sure. But we'd like you to at least come down and meet Rocky. And so I went and came down and I met Rocky. And at first it was like, I don't know, he doesn't seem to like me, or, we weren't really getting together at first. But then after a little while, he put his head in my lap and I knew it was it. that was it. We were going to be buds for life. And I went through training with him, a rather lengthy amount of training for a couple of years, actually, for him to be certified as my service dog. And now he's with me all the time, or as much as I possibly can have him with me. There are some times where I can't, and that's just reality. But he understands me. He knows when I'm having a bad day, whether it's PTSD related or because of my TBI, I am subject to seizures now. I'm on medication for it, but I still have to be careful sometimes. And so he senses that, and he's right there. And if I'm having a bad minute, he'll come up. It's like they call it changing your channel. He'll come up and he'll nudge me, or he'll lick my hand, or he'll even nibble my hand a little bit, or he'll put his head in my lap. But he makes me kind of stop my thought process and concentrate on him. And, we're best buds, and he kind of knows where I'm at all the time. And I take care of him. My children are growing. My son's a Marine. He's off doing his thing. My daughter's an adult. So he's kind of like my kid now, and another child. I take care of him and he takes care of me. And it's just always a good feeling to have him around. And he always makes me happy when I have him. And we go out and, we spend time together. We play, we walk, we run, do whatever. But he's there with me, and it just brightens my day. I don't think I've ever had a day where I haven't felt better having him next to me. And I know that I'm going to have him next to me for as long as I possibly can, for the rest of his life and for the rest of mine, if possible.
Wow, that's terrific. Good job, Rocky, providing security, comfort, support.
Yeah.
That's amazing to have a companion like that, especially in times of need, as you have spoken on. Last question here for you, Dan, wrapping things up. What is next for you going out into the future, and how can we as an audience follow you along your journey?
I'm going to continue to work for Wounded Warrior Project as one of their spokespersons for as long as I can. Like I like to say, I'm going to do this until the wheels fall off. I am not one to retire. I know that there will be a continual need for us. Yes, the war in Afghanistan and the war in Iraq are done, but that does not mean anything to Wounded Warrior Project or to me, because there are still thousands and thousands of men and women that served our country and their family support members that need assistance when it comes to mental health, when it comes to physical and emotional health. So I am going to continue on my journey. As I said, every time I speak, it helps me a little bit more. Every time I help another veteran or their family members, I know I'm helping them. That makes me proud to be able to do so. Sadly, veteran suicide is still a very huge topic and a very huge problem in our country. And that is a continual battle. We are in it right now, and I'm going to continue to fight to try and reduce that as much as I possibly can. And the easiest way to keep track is I'm on the Wounded Warrior Project website. And if you happen to find out that I'm speaking somewhere in your town, if you want to come and listen, or if you'd like to ask me to come out and speak on behalf of your organization or, your company or whatever it is, you can just go to woundedwarriorproject.org. Under Who We Are, there's a Warrior Speak tab, and that tab has requesting a speaker, and you can pick me or 8 of my fellow speakers are all incredible. And we all do the same thing, which is to further Wounded Warrior Project's mission, which is to honor and empower our nation's wounded warriors. And I'm going to continue that until I can't do it anymore. Like I said, I'm not one to retire. I make a joke all the time. I tried modeling after I retired. I'm not talking about the runway stuff. I'm talking about trying to build models. And all I got was a little bit of frustration there. So I need to get out and keep moving and keep doing my thing. And I'm going to keep doing it for as long as I can.
Well, thank you again for your time, Dan. And once again, it was a pleasure having you join us today. And we hope to catch you all again on another Coffee with Vets for Paramount Veterans Network. I'm William Gaucher. Take care.
Thank you.